Alright, so what's up? Mustang stuck in traffic. Wanted to talk a little bit about the higher octane fuel with gas prices so low. It was down to $1.49 in our part of the world this week, down to $1.49 for the lower octane. And so I'm going shift. So it's down. Gas is way down. It was $1.49 for the low octane stuff, and I'm like, oh, let me see if there's any hype, anything to the hype about, extra horsepower for the 93 octane stuff. So I filled up with 93 just to see, like, how does the car feel, what's different, just get overall impressions. And gotta say, I think the engine actually runs a little bit quieter. It's driving me nuts. I think the engine runs a little bit quieter with and again, this stuff may just be in my head, like the perceived change of, the switch, because I know that I switched. If you did a blind taste test, I don't know if I would have noticed the same things. And I'm sure people out there who know the technology behind all this would tell me that I'm nuts, but these are just kind of my impressions. I think the engine is running a little bit quieter. Just overall, there's kind of the sound to the V8 is, well, first of all, it's unreal. It's freaking awesome. But the, I think with the lower octane fuel, it's just a little bit quieter. There's a less of a kind of the chatter of the engine, for lack of a better way to describe it. It doesn't sound bad. It's just a little bit quieter. I also noticed, I think the car runs a little bit smoother, believe it or not. It's kind of intangible, but it just feels like, in general, the takeoffs are a little bit smoother and just a little bit more buttery. Whoa. Back end going out. Takeoff's a little smoother. I guess maybe it's the horsepower bump, but I don't know how you would ever really, how would you ever notice like 5% of a bump in horsepower? I mean, maybe, but. So, those are the two really main things I notice, is just a little bit quieter or maybe a little bit smoother. I can't say, oh, geez, there's this giant power bump. But, so it's $2 a gallon for the 93. Maybe if gas goes back up, or maybe I'll compare next week. That'll be a good subject for the next Mustang stuck in traffic. Maybe I'll go back down to 86 and compare and contrast. So, what's going on up here? Left, there's a car. Oh, what the f*** are you doing? Oh, man. Another accident? I think this truck just hit somebody. I think the truck just tapped that car. Oh, my God. Oh, goodness. Dude. Multiple accident situation. Roads are slippery, though. My back end keeps going out. Such are the problems. Such are the problems with a Mustang stuck in traffic. Son of a biscuit. Oh, you know what else? That's what else. I noticed a MPG, a tiny bump in the miles per gallon. So I'm looking at the fuel economy readout. So I get on average 15 and a half miles to the gallon. But, you know, I drive this car the way it was meant to be driven, or the way I think it was meant to be driven. So, yeah, anyway, I get 15 and a half miles to the gallon, and, you know, I'm not the slow shifting kind of driver, I guess you might say. I got this car to drive it. I'm a guitar player also, and you know, I kind of have this overall philosophy that, you know, there's people who buy these vintage instruments and just hang them on the wall or put them in a glass case and never play them. It's ridiculous. I buy every guitar I buy, I play. Get it to play. I mean, you know, aside from the fact that I could never afford one of those instruments, but, you know, I'm not sure if I would even like to own it because I'd be so freaking afraid to play it. But the same thing, I bought this car to drive it, and as the websites, the Ford websites would say, spirited driving. You know, I bought it to drive it, and I like to accelerate, and I love the sound of the engine. The exhaust, the stock exhaust, not quite where it needs to be, but I get why they did what they did. It's probably, there's probably all kinds of regulations and things like that kind of keep them, you know, there's probably noise. Look at this Murano, what are you doing, dude? There's probably all kinds of regulations that they need to follow that, you know, and plus it keeps the kind of the aftermarket exhaust industry alive. And so eventually, when I get to it, when I have the means, you know, I got my eyes on this Roush Axleback. Stop. Roush Axleback. That's going to be in budget, and it's going to happen. So I'd love to have it a little louder in the back, but you know, when you're driving this thing, you definitely hear the engine. You know, you hear the exhaust that's in there. As a driver, you hear it. It's fun. It's fun as hell. So it's actually kind of hard to not drive this car the way it was meant to be driven. I've tried to kind of drive it in a less spirited way, if you will, and you know, I actually almost stalled it out a couple times. It's like this car just needs the power, it needs gas, give me fuel.